Hello, everyone. Welcome to Team 21. I'm Nishan Shashi here, Senior Solution Engineer here at Atlassian. I focus myself on ITSM practices in Atlassian and works with enterprise customers to adopt lean and meaningful ways to IT service management. So this is what you'll see for the next 30 minutes. We're going to start off with Atlassian's approach to ITSM, and then we're going to dive into asset management, what it means and how it has evolved. We're going to showcase asset management practices for teams and finally provide you the resources. So managing assets has been a natural part of business for decades. Where is the asset? What are you paying for it? But before we start off with that, let's look at what Atlassian's approach to ITSM is. So at the very heart of Atlassian's mission is teams. And we spend a lot of times learning and innovating around the ways they work. Many times our conversation focus to tend right to technology, right? And the product the team needs. This approach misses so much that is important to our ways of working and how to help transform the ways the teams work. So our passion for teams consider three important principles: performance, culture, and practices. We know that the good practices are the foundation that lead to high performance, but they also allow teams to quickly respond and using the IT support. Teams with good practices are built on strong culture, and team culture plays a very important role to deliver this for the high performing teams. They're always learning and looking ways to deliver greater values. So now, as you know, true transformation takes more than right tools. You need practices that makes the new ways of working sticks. And that's why Atlassian ships a playbook that has over 50 practical team practices that helps team to do everything from running feedback sessions to working through change management. And these plays weren't written in a vacuum. They were written by our software, IT, HR, program management teams based on research and experience. And we continue to add them as we learn and grow. So when you become an Atlassian customer, you'll know what we know. You'll get to learn from our success and our failures. So Health Monitor is your team's chance to take an honest look in the mirror. You'll assess your teams against 8 attributes commonly found among healthy teams. At the end of the Health Monitor session, you'll identify strengths to exploit as well as challenges, areas to grow. So we created this Health Monitors for project, service, leadership teams, and this enables to discover self-guided plays that can uncover team blind spots, improve practices, and start important conversation for the future. So I highly encourage you to take a look at the team playbook. So when it comes to IT support practices, ITIL is the #1 standard they have adopted. In early 2019, Axelos released a major update to ITIL, and that's ITIL 4, which actually brings ITIL framework up to date, introducing a holistic approach to service management, focusing end-to-end service management from demand to value. So some of the highlights include how the service economy works in the modern world, how to keep value first mindset using the ITIL guiding principle, and how to integrate lean, agile, and DevOps practices into ITSM. So this update to ITIL 4 actually caught our attention. And so we partnered with Axelos to publish a guide that provides introduction to this update, consider what the best practices are for high velocity organization. And we hope you will take this ITIL 4 guide into your teams to have a meaningful discussion for unlocking better ways of working and improving IT support practices. So the Atlassian approach for ITSM has derived from the 3 same principles, with grooming your team with the strong culture, practice as per lean and agile ways of working, and high-performing teams who uses the product to achieve the same. So when it comes to assets, managing IT assets has been a natural part of business for decades. Where is the asset? What are you paying for it? From whose budget? But from the service management perspective, providing value through technology services, we rely on these assets to deliver technology. Without one, you cannot have other. So what's new about the issue of IT asset management facing organization today? And that's what we're going to delve into, how asset management has evolved. So the ITIL 4 has now recognize IT asset management as a critical management practice in IT service management. So if you don't get this right, you risk like hefty fines or expose stakeholders to risk. So this IT team enables the entire organization to get more innovative, deliver value more quickly. With the right data at their fingertips, teams can move with speed and predict the impact of changes before even they happen. So the IT asset management is the act of ensuring organization IT are accounted for, deployed, maintained, upgraded, or disposed when the time comes. Essentially, the goal is to optimize spending and usage for all the assets to ensure the best return on your investment. Because the term asset is so broad, IT asset management is often spread out among different systems, people. So due to that same reason, it's very important that all these asset-related data should be centralized. If it isn't, the result is misinformation, inaccuracies, and time delays. And this kind of environment isn't conducive to make informed decisions or making compliance standards. So you may ask, what are these IT assets? So it can be anything from database, laptops, software, or the application server. So what do we actually track within these? It can be the financials, the contracts, how we buy them. It can be the person who's using it or owns that particular piece of hardware, the location where the application server resides. If you want to have a globally deployed environment, where is that particular software being used? And finally, the life cycle of the asset. So talking about asset life cycle, it comes all the way from planning for an asset. Do we need this particular piece of hardware or software? And acquiring that asset from a manufacturer or vendor, deploying that asset to the end users, and maintaining that asset. And finally, time comes, retiring it. So I think about it in this way: more than a life cycle, this enables us to track the journey of that particular asset. And in context of configuration management, many people ask me, like, what's the difference between configuration management and asset management? In context of configuration management, assets are known as configuration items or CIs, and not all assets are CIs and vice versa. Let's dig a little bit deeper on that. So what are these items? Again, you do see something similar, right? You do see database, you do see application server, laptop, software. I do see two additional things like a disk drive, a load balancer. So in configuration management, what it does, it actually get all this information and also relates to it. It actually has a one relationship, how a load balancer connects to an application server, how an application server connects to a database, and what are the other different components to it, like a file system or a software or a disk drive, and how all these elements or configuration items is related to a business service. So when I look at a business service, I know all these components are related to it. So if there's one component which has an issue, I know the business service might get affected. So that's essentially CIs. The goal of the configuration management is to build an understanding on how your IT infrastructure is running to better support any issues that occur within it. Or configuration management broadly cares about assets in the deploy and maintain parts of the lifecycle. So I showed you the lifecycle before for the asset management, which comes all the way from planning. But in configuration management, we just look at the deploy and maintain status. So one way to think of it is like asset management is keeping track of what you have from a financial governance perspective and what it's used for. And configuration management is keeping track on how it's doing and what it's doing. So again, the question comes, like, should you begin with IT asset management or service management, service configuration management, or both? So no handbook, no webinars, no sessions can actually say for certain what is best for your organization to start with. Here are some common questions your company might ask to give you some inspiration to where to start with, like, what type of IT devices are important for us to track? Or what are the top services that are important to our services? You always have to ask like which questions comes up to you for you most, which answers take the longest to find out. So what answers cost your organization the most if you don't have them? So if you can't easily answer these, it's highly likely chance you have blind spots in your asset management or service configuration oversight. For example, if you have unused licenses, maybe you're paying too much for your software agreement. Or if you are not sure what operating system you have, you don't know when an issue happens, how it is related in the configuration. So in our experience, majority of companies follow a similar pattern when it comes to where do I begin. They start with documenting their inventory, moving on tracking, lifecycle usage of that inventory with IT asset management. Then they start to look at the status of that particular asset, which is again tracked in asset management. And finally, the connection between their asset within configuration management. So usually service management depends on this accurate set of asset information, and similarly asset management depends on the up-to-date inventory. So start where you are and build from there. And again, this is a common question, right? The answer is that all about how you're looking at the object in question. What is an asset? What is a CI? Maybe it's both are the same. As a rule of thumb, if you're tracking that something exists, its cost, and it's being used for an intended purpose, is an asset. If you're tracking like how it's set up or related or something else, it's a CI. If you're tracking both, it can be both an asset and a CI. And the CI information will hold all the source of truth, and the asset information will give you the day-to-day life cycle of that asset. For example, a server is an IT asset for managing your services. You likely want to, have some configuration information such as like what services is running on, what's the OS, whether it's a production staging or a system, etc. At the same time, a file can be a complete configuration item, which doesn't need to track its financial cost. At the same time, any changes to that file may cause a service disruption, which an application relies on. So modern and flexible CMDB tools are often designed to be an asset repository too. So then you can store both asset and configuration items about an object in one place. And there's a lot of benefits to storing everything in one tool. One, database keeps everything, things simple for users, often reduces cost, and means that all your data might need in an easily accessible way in the same way. And looking forward, like managing IT assets, let's look at how asset management applied to these ITSM practices. So in this section, we'll explore how IT asset management complements to the different practices of IT service management, be it knowledge management, service request management, reporting, all the way to portfolio, incident management, and how does IT asset management and configuration management caters to it. So for today's session, we're going to focus on IT asset management and how it focuses on the three main areas of knowledge management, service request management, and reporting. So talking about service request management, firstly, the requesters can link a particular assets to their service test request, giving agents context about what's wrong. And as your asset changes, the available items linking to your issues will change too. And service desk can be configured not only to show assets or CIs that belong or accessible to the requester in the case of like technical support. So now like the agent instantly knows all the details of the laptop when the request comes in, and what are the configuration for it, if they get a broken laptop or a can't login issue. Secondly, it can help with routing of support tickets or requests for faster responses. So according to, let's say, a linked asset, I can employ automation rules to send that issue to the correct team that is responsible for it. For example, if the issue is with a particular business service is reported by a customer, the agent can immediately see who's responsible for that service and route the ticket to that particular team. So let's talk about knowledge base. everybody get confused, like, why am I talking knowledge base in terms of asset management? You all know, like, getting the correct knowledge to customers is very essential, and it has two major benefits. One, it's a great customer service. As customers like instantly get information they need to solve their problem. And second one is increased efficiencies. Almost all agents, as long as they're like need to solve simple repetitive issues. So having a comprehensive knowledge base is important, not only for customers, but also the IT team. It gives customers what they're looking for and IT teams the tools to document any internal fixes and workarounds. So though IT asset management and configuration management can all build knowledge base by itself, if you're thinking about it, they're a great source of data for determining what type of knowledge base articles to write. If you link CIs or assets with your service desk you're going to build, there's a lot of useful information where you can see where you need to provide help for your customers. You can run analysis on the linked asset plus other parameters. For example, you might discover that audiovisual issues disproportionately affecting a particular model of laptop more than the other. So you can call that how to connect to projector for MacBook Pro. That will substantially reduce the number of service requests you receive going forward. It's also possible to, again, build automation rules to spot high volumes of similar requests. For example, if service has more than like 5 linked help requests within a certain time frame, a problem ticket or a notification is sent to the service owner so that they can look at it and maybe produce a knowledge article based on that particular piece of information. And determining that also requires how you model your data, right? To be consistent about reporting, like picking your issue or affected equipment, so that good data will result in better knowledge base. So where it comes from, it's about knowledge and reporting. So being able to like accurately and quickly report on your assets and CIs is absolutely critical to any business. And having these accessible report means like organization can make informed decisions in let's say new hardware, or focus on developer support, or where to hire new staff, or even to change a supplier if they are not adhering to certain parameters. So over time, you build this huge history that has been that can be queried, and every attribute change, every linked issue, every status change will be recorded and will support your future decision as well. So how do we do it? How do modern asset management works for Atlassian? So Mindville joined Atlassian last year. Mindville was a marketplace app prior for asset tracking and configuration management. And it has been a huge win for our Jira Service Management customers and IT teams worldwide. Now we are incorporating the same robust configuration asset management capabilities, including discovery, into our Jira Service Management Cloud, a premium and enterprise offering. And with its insight, teams can track assets, configuration items, resources to gain visibility to critical relationship between applications, services, and other key dependencies. And with insight, ITT can better respond to service requests by gaining greater context of issues, minimizing like IT risk by understanding downstream impact of changes. So this actually helps to have a single source of truth, at the same time track your assets and CIs at the same time. So let's see how asset management is done in action. So right now we are at the help center for an onboarding request. So I have a new employee which is going to join, who's going to join in a few weeks. I want to go ahead and look at onboarding, look at the articles first. Like, it will give me the information on how I can onboard an employee, what are the steps I need to take, which are the laptops as I could provide for that person. So let's go back and look at how to create that request. So I'm going ahead, clicking on onboarding new employee. There you go. I'm going to select, I'm going to enter Alana Grant is joining the marketing team. I'm going to select which department she would be in, and who's employee who's going to join. Employee start dates 3 weeks from now. It's good. I'm going to select a laptop. So you see here, it's coming from Insight. So I'm actually connecting to my asset management to select the laptop, and also the cloud subscription. She would need Adobe Creative Cloud since she's in marketing, and I'm going to add a few more application access for that person. Yes, she does require a security interview and an office setup. She's going to come on site to our office location, and done. So that actually sends an onboarding request and it's submitted in Jira Service Management. It looks like it also requires an approval. So let's go ahead and look at the IT request. So in the agent view, you can see which department, who's the employee who's going to join, the laptop. So I can look at the laptop. Looks like it is in the inventory, so I can very well provision that for that new employee. And the Adobe Creative Cloud is the other subscription she would need. And I can go ahead and look at the whole relationship on how Alana Grant is connected to the marketing team, which are the software she would use, who's her manager, and which office location she would go to, and is there any other linked issues with it. Maybe it can be linked issues in terms of separate HR requests, finance requests, or for the IT team requests for a piece of software or hardware. And once I have all this information in, you do have other tasks for a new onboarding request, and once it's approved, those tasks will be carried forward. So you can see here the power of asset management, where it plays a very vital role in connecting all these pieces, connecting the required laptop, connecting to the cloud subscription. Let's see how the things happen in the background. So you can create a lot of object schemas, and these schemas will contain particular types of objects, object types, or the attributes which goes with that object. And also within this object, how do you import the schema? So we do have the different import methods within our cloud. Today we have import methods such as CSV, discovery import, and JSON. So let's look at CSV, how easy it is to import some of the information. Let's say I have a CSV of employee details. I can come in here and put in, okay, employee details, and select the file which I need to upload to. Once I'm done, select the delimiter and save the import configuration and run it. It's as simple as that. But going forward, this is our data center edition, where you have plenty of options to import, and we're going to close that gap in our cloud as well, like connecting to our other sources like SCCM, Device 42, etc. So going back to the schemas, let's take a closer look on how assets and employees are recorded within assets. So if you expand it, you can see here, I have employee, I have office locations, I have the laptops, which is linked to it. So if I look at Emma right here, I do have her employee ID, the employee type, department, which office she belongs to. So it actually is coming from a different object, which is office. And I can see all the attributes which makes this object. Can be name, employee again, the office, and how all these things are related. You can see in the office, I'm actually looking at the object from the office type and how it is related. So I can pick from another object as well. So let's say I want to add a new attribute. It's as simple as going into the attributes and saying, I want to record if that person is remote work or not. I can select one of these. It's not a user group. I want to select a multi-selection value. I can give, okay, no or yes. And then simply add. So this will enable me to record that piece of information, so that asset is that particular piece of asset, or in this term, asset can be a person, right? We are recording, okay, she is belongs, she's into remote work, and that's what is recorded in this record. Also, in the graph, in the object level, I can see how all these things are related. An employee is related to particular software, services, cloud subscription, department, what is the employee type, and so forth. And if I come back to the objects, I have different things to show you. So in the object schema, I create another one called software asset management. In software asset management, essentially, I'm trying to track the contracts, the hosting solution, maybe it's cloud or maybe it's on-prem. I want to see, if I want to see all my cloud infrastructure, I can see what are the my cloud subscription, how many licenses I have, software licenses are there beneath it, what are the contracts related to it, what are the manufacturers that we have, like it can be Atlassian, it can be Adobe, it can be New Relic or Salesforce. And what are the contracts? What are the status of it? What is the contract ID? What is the term? It's fixed, annual, or perpetual. What are the software license beneath it as well? So within the software license, you can see here, I am recording few of the elements which I've just showed you in the other screen, like manufacturer, the hosting. Again, I can have a particular version for it. The number of license purchases is 100, and the remaining license is 99. Why would that be? So if you look at the right-hand side, I have a connected Jira issue. I just provisioned software for Alana Grant for Adobe Creative Cloud, and that actually consumed that license. So with the power of automation, you can actually create this license engine where you can see when a request goes through, you can actually automate that and you consume those licenses from there. Or from a discovery source, you know the number of software deployed, and that discovery source can tell you the actual remaining software licenses for the rest of the life cycle. And also anything to do with financials, the cost of it, the contracts, or other on-prem solutions as well. So let's say you go to another software license and you see here, I have 2,000 purchased, but remaining license is 0. So essentially I'm out of compliance. So you can take steps or again, employ automation rules to purchase more software for that. Okay, let's see how asset management plays in the real world. So we have Alana Grant, the new hire from Matt Asmos, requesting for a new employee request, like onboarding request, which actually accesses asset management for the laptop and software, which laptop he has to choose and which software she would need, which in turn creates multiple tickets. One being HR. The HR creates the employee onboarding, creates the new employee on the system. Again, that enters with the AD sync to asset management. Also, HR has to plan for their onboarding party, right? And the facilities can work on the location. She belongs to Sydney, so work with the facilities can provide the desk, the chair, the other items for her for the first day. And the IT department can request for a laptop, the inventory for the laptop, and also any required software for her. So the license automation engine, which can actually look for available licenses and provision that software for that person. And where does asset and CMDB getting updated? It's the discovery sources. It is by adding IT asset through various other sources, and how we can normalize and reconcile to the CMDB. And finally, for the knowledge management, you can see here how you can continuously improve from the managing and reporting all the way so that you can better serve your customers as well as your agents going forward. So you can see the elements of service request management, the elements of knowledge management and reporting all in play, and how everything comes in together into fruition. Finally, I wanted to share some guides on, like, this is a practical guides which covers basics of everything you need to know about ITSM with Atlassian across IT, delivery, operations, support. Along the way, learn best practices and tips to improve your team's performance, efficiency, and collaboration. And taking on asset and configuration management can feel daunting. So it doesn't have to feel that way. So get the handbook and learn how these two practices can supply like critical information to improve your ITSM workflows. So essentially this handbook provides like overview of asset and configuration management, which we covered during the session, and more on how to apply those practices within your IT. And we'll also offer advice on how to get started, provide a kind of a high-level checklist on the steps you want to implement your own asset and configuration management strategy. So thank you so much for your time, and hope you got what asset management is all about.